Dirt bike exhausts can get pretty hot, and if you're not careful, you can end up with a nasty burn. In this video, we'll take a look at how hot dirt bike exhausts get, and we'll also provide some tips on how to stay safe when riding your dirt bike. How hot does a dirt bike exhaust get? Dirt bike exhaust can get incredibly hot. It can reach temperatures over 1000 degrees Fahrenheit, 537 degrees Celsius, especially on the point of contact with the engine, which is obviously that hot exhaust pipe right next to the engine. That leads to questions like, how do I avoid getting burned when riding? Can I touch my bike after it's been running? Is it safe for me to lean over my bike when it's on? The short answer is yes, you can touch your bike but don't lean over it when the engine is running. Even though the exhaust can get hot, it is mostly unlikely that you would get burnt because your bike is insulated. The majority of the heat is dissipated into the air. And that's where you want it, because if that engine gets too hot, you could end up with some serious problems. If the temperature inside the combustion chamber becomes much hotter than what the piston and cylinder can take, then they'll start to melt. Why does the temperature of the exhaust get so high? Temperature of the exhaust can get high because of a number of reasons. The bike burns fuel to function. This is the most obvious reason. When you are riding your bike, it is burning fuel. Gasoline, petrol, which is the most common type of fuel in dirt bikes, contains hydrocarbon chains with carbon atoms bound to hydrogen atoms. This reaction releases energy when the gasoline is burned, and the heat produced is what causes the exhaust pipe to get so hot. The exhaust pipe is not properly insulated, or there's no insulation at all. The exhaust can also get hot because of lack of proper insulation. If your bike doesn't have an exhaust wrap, or if the thread used to attach the wrap started to unwrap itself, then it would cause some parts of the exhaust pipe to be directly exposed to the engine, which is very hot. Also, if there is no insulation around the exhaust pipe, then it would also cause the exhaust to get very hot because of direct contact with the engine. Because of riding in very hot conditions. Although it may not necessarily be the case, if you were riding in very hot weather, very high ambient temperature, then this would obviously cause the engine to produce more heat. In addition to that, the bike would also require more fuel to function because there's less oxygen available for oxidation. So, if you were riding in very hot conditions, then this would cause the exhaust to get hotter. What are the dangers of riding a dirt bike without proper protection? There are several dangers of riding your dirt bike without proper protection for the exhaust. Here's a list of them. 1. You could get burnt. Even though dirt bikes are properly insulated, sometimes it's possible to get burnt when riding if your bike doesn't have proper protection. This means that the heat from the engine could potentially come in contact with your skin and you would end up getting burnt. 2. You can cause damage to your bike. The most common type of insulation is wrapped around the exhaust pipe. If this wrap starts to unwrap itself, then it can cause some parts of the exhaust pipe to be directly exposed to the engine, which is very hot. This heat could potentially cause the parts of the bike to melt, and would require costly repairs. 3. Your exhaust may get damaged. The extreme temperatures can cause some components on your bike to warp or even melt. Another possible damage that you may encounter after riding without proper protection is corrosion. Since there's no insulation, the exhaust would eventually start to rust because of exposure to humidity and water. How can I prevent my bike from overheating? Preventing your bike from overheating is very important for extending its life. Here's a list of things that you can do to prevent overheating. 1. Make sure there is proper insulation around your bike's exhaust. 2. Have the proper protection for your engine. 3. Don't ride in very hot conditions. 4. Keep an eye on the temperature gauge. How do you protect yourself from high heat when riding a dirt bike? There are a couple of things you can do to protect yourself from high heat when riding your dirt bike. Always wear protective gear. Wearing protective gear is very important when riding a dirt bike. Protective clothing like gloves, boots and jackets are the most common types of protection for you while you ride. This means that you will be protected against the high heat even if you don't have proper insulation around your bike. Wear sunglasses to protect your eyes. Since dirt bikes are not enclosed, especially on the back, it is possible for dust and debris to fly into your eyes while riding. This can be very dangerous because you won't be able to see properly, which increases the chances of crashing. Wearing sunglasses can help prevent this because it can protect your eyes from dust and debris. Inspect your dirt bike before riding. Sometimes it takes only one ride for an exhaust pipe to start unwrapping itself. So if you want to prevent damage to your engine, it's important that you inspect your dirt bike first before riding. This means that you will be able to know if the wrap on your exhaust is still in good condition, and will enable you to have it properly insulated after. Keep an eye on your engine temperature gauge while riding. This one is pretty straightforward. Having an eye on the temperature of your engine while riding can tell you when something isn't right with your bike. For example, if you don't have proper insulation, it would cause the heat of your engine to go up too high, which can damage it. Checking on the temperature of your engine while riding helps you be aware of how hot your bike is getting so that you will know when something's wrong. My final thoughts. Dirt bike exhaust can get really hot, especially when the insulation starts to come off and is not replaced with a new one. This can damage your bike and cause bodily harm to you if you don't take proper precautions before riding the dirt bike. Always make sure that there's good insulation around the exhaust. Always wear protective gear when riding. Keep an eye on how your bike is performing and inspect it frequently for damage or wear. This will not only make your riding smooth, but it'll also help you save money on repairs.